asked my husband's nephew to go to the vegetable field to pick 2 garlic bulbs. My husband suddenly accused me angrily. Hong Hong's biological father died early. As an aunt, you bully him like this. Do you have any humanity at all? When I heard this, I stood on the field ridge, frowned, and asked, why did I bully him? The husband snatched the dish from his nephew's hand and threw it to the ground. We're going back to your parents' house as guests. Why should we let Hang Hang do the work? I bought a 3,000 yuan skirt for my daughter in advance, but only prepared 200 yuan toys for Hang Hang. This is not bullying him. I looked up at Hang Hang, who was still in the vegetable field, expecting him to explain. Hang Hang glanced at me, lowered his head, and shed tears. For a moment, my heart went cold. My daughter's skirt was prepared by my mother long ago. The aviation summer camp ended early, so my mother had no time to prepare it beforehand and bought it for her as a gift in the store. Moreover, I just bought a set of brand name sportswear for Hang Hang the day before yesterday, which is much more expensive than my daughter's skirt. Unexpectedly, what I thought was an equal treatment for everyone turned into vicious partiality in the eyes of my husband and Hang Hang. Table of contents. Click on the chapter title to jump to the corresponding text location. Chapter 1. Chapter 2. Chapter 1. Asked my husband's nephew to go to the vegetable field to pick 2 garlic bulbs. My husband suddenly accused me angrily. Hong Hong's biological father died early. As an aunt, you bully him like this. Do you have any humanity at all? When I heard this, I stood on the field ridge, frowned, and asked, why did I bully him? The husband snatched the dish from his nephew's hand and threw it to the ground. We're going back to your parents' house as guests. Why should we let Hang Hang do the work? I bought a 3,000 yuan skirt for my daughter in advance, but only prepared 200 yuan toys for Hang Hang. This is not bullying him. I looked up at Hang Hang, who was still in the vegetable field, expecting him to explain. Hang Hang glanced at me, lowered his head, and shed tears. For a moment, my heart went cold. My daughter's skirt was prepared by my mother long ago. The aviation summer camp ended early, so my mother had no time to prepare it beforehand and bought it for her as a gift in the store. Moreover, I just bought a set of brand name sportswear for Hang Hang the day before yesterday, which is much more expensive than my daughter's skirt. Unexpectedly, what I thought was an equal treatment for everyone turned into vicious partiality in the eyes of my husband and Hang Hang. Take your daughter back to your parents' home. My husband said that his nephew's summer camp ended early, and he wanted to take Hang Hang with him. After seeing the 3,000 yuan dress my mother gave to her daughter, Hong Hong's eyes turned red with grievance. Sensing that Hang Hang was in a bad mood, my mother quickly took Hang Hang to a nearby store to choose the most expensive toy. But after Hang Hang saw the price of the toy, he sat on the sofa and burst into tears. No matter how much my mother tried to coax him, it didn't work. After the meal is ready, my husband comes out to catch up on his sleep. Hang Hang suddenly entered the kitchen and said, Aunt, let me help you serve the food. Be careful when it's freshly cooked. My mother was deeply moved by her considerate look. My husband was at the door with a livid face. When I just brought the plate to the table, he asked me to come out in a bad tone. Hang Hang is still a child. How can you let him work? I thought my husband was afraid of scalding Hang Hang, so I quickly explained the ones on Hong Hong's side are for cold dishes and not hot. Hearing this, my husband became even more angry. What's wrong with a cold dish? Hang Hang is here as a guest. How can your family let him work? And your mother bought such an expensive dress for Fei Fei. Why did the toys for Hang Hang only cost 200 yuan? Your mother just saw that Hang Hang had no parents, so she deliberately bullied him, right? My husband's accusations baffled me. Just when he was about to retort, he saw Hang Hang walking out with a toy in his arms, his eyes still a little red. Uncle and aunt, please don't quarrel because of me. Hang Hang is very happy to have toys. The price really doesn't matter. It's very hard for aunt to cook so many dishes, and Hang Hang didn't help much. My sister also helped with chopsticks. The husband's eyes were red, and he hugged Hang Hang with some distress. You also said that you won't treat Hang Hang differently, so why don't you let your daughter serve the dishes? You are duplicitous. When I came back from my mother's place, my husband always ignored me. I've been trying to smooth things over. I thought that the matter would be revealed once my husband figured it out. However, my husband became furious when he saw his daughter wearing a princess dress. Seeing Hang Hang standing aside aggrievedly, I knew that my husband would not give up. Suddenly, I felt a sense of powerlessness in my heart, as if I was an outsider in this family. I said helplessly, my mother bought the dress for Fei Fei a long time ago. Hang Hang decided to go there temporarily, and my mother didn't know about it in advance. My husband sneered when he heard this. Stop making excuses. Hang Hang is the only male in our family. From now on, all the money in the family will be left to him. How dare you do this to Hang Hang? I was so angry that I couldn't speak. At first, my husband said that Hong Hong's father left early and his mother remarried, and he wanted to take Hang Hang by his side to take care of him, so I agreed. No matter how busy I am, I never let Hang Hang do any housework. Of all the things Fei Fei has, I have never lacked Hong Hong's share. Unexpectedly, after raising him as my own for several years, just because of the price difference of a gift, I became a vicious aunt who treated him harshly. I tried hard to suppress my anger and just wanted to break up with my husband. My daughter took my hand sensibly. Mom, I will go back to the room and take off my skirt now. Please stop arguing. Seeing this, my husband's face softened slightly and he said sarcastically, "This torn skirt should have been thrown away a long time ago." Feifei knows that from now on, Hang Hang will be the master of this family. You can't make Hang Hang unhappy. You are so old and you don't have a child who understands. I didn't say anything more and carried Feifei back to the room. Outside the living room, my husband's sarcasm came through the crack in the door and I covered Feifei's ears in distress. I understand that my husband feels sorry for Hang Hang as he has no parents and always wants to love him more. But I absolutely cannot accept my daughter being wronged just to please Hang Hang. I heard my husband's accusation against me. The next day, my mother-in-law posted big character posters downstairs in the community and where I worked. She also brought reporters to accuse me of abusing Hang Hang. I was completely confused when I saw the bruises all over the body of Zhong Hong Hang in the picture. I opened my mouth to defend myself, saying that I had never done such a thing. Unexpectedly, my husband not only refused to explain to me, but also accused me to reporters who were traveling with me that I was usually not good to Hang Hang, and now I dared to abuse my children. He will never forgive me. The mother-in-law even cried while hugging Hang Hang. When the reporters saw this, they started snapping pictures like crazy. Soon there was a lot of abuse against me on the internet. Some self-proclaimed caring people even found out my mother's home address and threw rotten eggs directly at my mother's door. "Smelly old woman, your daughter took over the property left by Hong Hong's father and actually abused Hang Hang. It's really unconscionable. Shameless thing, even capable of attacking such a young child. Do you have any humanity left?" I almost had a heart attack when I received the dismissal call from the company and heard about the situation at my mother's place. I was about to go home and ask my husband why, but I heard the conversation between my husband and Hang Hang outside the door. This time, think of it as a lesson to your aunt. Let's see if she dares to be partial next time. Grandma and the neighbors are asking you. Remember not to spill the beans. Just say that the injuries on your body were all caused by your aunt, do you know? Although your aunt is partial to Feifei, your uncle loves you the most in his heart. Don't climb trees with children anymore. My uncle feels so bad when he falls like this. I stood outside the door and didn't enter the password for a long time. I can't figure out why my originally considerate husband would become like this. Since Zhong Hang Hang moved in, I have treated him as my own, and all my husbands have seen it. I feel sorry for Hang Hang, who has no parents. I have always treated him as my own child. Having 2 children at home costs a lot of money. I usually only buy new clothes when there are discounts during the seasons. But the clothes she bought for Hang Hang were all the latest models from big brands, and Hong Hong's wardrobe was even bigger than Feifei's. Even because the living expenses provided by my husband are not enough, my mother usually helps me a lot. On weekends, Hang Hang wants to go to the amusement park, and my daughter wants to go to the aquarium. When we disagree, I ask my daughter to accommodate Hang Hang. I think that as an aunt, I definitely do my best for Hang Hang. My husband says he loves his children, but his salary is simply not enough to support the 2 children. But what did I get? I became the vicious aunt that everyone on the internet yelled at. It's only today that I understand that other people's children can never be raised properly, and it doesn't matter how nice you are to them. Previously, when I was catching up on progress at the company, I received a call saying that Hang Hang had injured his leg in kindergarten. My boss didn't approve my request for leave, and my husband couldn't get through on the phone, so I couldn't skip work to pick him up. The boss called me angrily, scolded me, and deducted a quarter of my bonus. As a result, my husband came back in the evening and accused me angrily. Hang Hang is injured. If you don't rush to send Hang Hang to the hospital, you still have time to argue with the leader about asking for leave. Furthermore, you clearly know that Hong Hong's knee was injured, but you let him come back. What conscience do you have? If it's Feifei who gets hurt, are you willing to do this to her? Hearing this, I froze in place. I raised my head and glanced at Hang Hang, but he was still sitting on the sofa watching TV. It was as if he didn't hear the quarrel on our side. My husband continued to accuse me endlessly. The money I earn every month is in your hands. But you can't even handle this little thing at home now. I really don't know what you do for food every day. I couldn't help but defend myself. I couldn't get through to you when I called you. I skipped work and my entire quarter's bonus was deducted. Furthermore, I only walked back after seeing that Hong Hong's knee was only slightly bruised and not serious, and that he was motion sick. My husband heard this, but didn't take it seriously. You just got a little bonus deducted. What's the big deal? Nothing is more important than Hong Hong's health. My husband's words made me freeze in place. I always thought that since I accepted Hang Hang, I should be nicer to him. Even for Feifei, I don't dote on her to this extent. Recalling the past, I took a deep breath. Listening to the door, my husband is still chattering about the voyage. I opened the door directly and went in. My husband was so frightened that I came back. When did you come back? I tried hard to suppress the sourness in my heart and said in a hoarse voice, "Only 2,000 of your monthly salary is left after paying off the mortgage, car loan, and paying for water, electricity, and property. The clothes that Hang Hang wears are all famous brands. Have you ever thought about where all this money comes from? It's all my savings and my mother's subsidies. My mother bought Feifei a skirt, and you guys have such a big objection. So why didn't anyone say anything when I bought brand name sneakers for Hang Hang a few days ago? I subsidized so much money on Hang Hang. In the end, I ended up being the bad guy who abused him? How ironic. How ridiculous." My husband was caught, but still confident. I just saw that you treated Hang Hang differently and wanted to give him some vent. Why are you so petty? Upon seeing this, Hang Hang shrank and hid behind her husband and whispered in fear, Uncle, it's okay for Hang Hang to feel a little wronged. Don't quarrel with your aunt. Hearing this, I almost laughed angrily. Am I being petty? Didn't you post big character posters to frame me just because you didn't take advantage once? Who is being petty? How much does my mother support the family? Now she is being harassed online intentionally. Who is the one who is wronged? Also, don't say that my mother didn't have time to prepare. Even if she really only bought a gift for Fei Fei, you have no control over who she wants to spend her money on. Since you are so dissatisfied with me, why don't we all break up in two? After saying that, I went back to the house to get my ID, took my daughter's hand, and planned to leave. My husband angrily accused me. I see that you and this family are not of the same mind at all. How much did you spend? How much did your mother spend? If you marry me, your savings will be joint property of the couple. Your mother only has your daughter. In the future, everything she has will be given to you. Fei Fei will get married sooner or later. You won't have to rely on Hang Hang in the future. Isn't it right to spend some money on Hang Hang now? My husband and I were quarreling louder and louder. The management came and knocked on the door, asking us to keep our voices down. There were complaints from neighbors. The mother-in-law finally stopped pretending to be deaf and dumb and was willing to come out of the house. It can be seen that the mother-in-law now knows that she is wronged, but for the sake of her son, she still tries to smooth things over against her will. Daughter-in-law, how can a couple live without bickering? He is a little impatient this time, but as a wife, can you really care about your man? No matter what, Hang Hang is his nephew. It is human nature for him not to see his children being wronged. My husband suddenly became a little more arrogant. I heard this and sneered. Mother-in-law, since you are family, I'll just leave. I held my daughter's hand and walked away decisively. Upon seeing this, the mother-in-law wanted to say something, but her husband stopped her. Mom, don't coax her. You're really spoiling her. It's okay to let her go back to her parents' home to reflect for a few days. Think carefully about where you went wrong. I picked up my daughter and didn't even look back. When I faced reporters today, I kept thinking that I was lucky. Maybe my husband felt too sorry for Hang Hang to say such a thing. But I didn't expect that I would hear everything at the door. In the past, I always thought that we were one family and didn't need to care too much. I always took into account the face of my husband's family. But now, I really just want to take care of myself. I just settled in the hotel with my daughter. I turned on my phone and saw that my husband had sent a lot of messages at me in the family group. If you don't, I will pick you up later. You can reflect on yourself at your parents' home. When you're done reflecting on it, come back. There are a few bastards who have taken a look at your abilities. You should have been taught a lesson a long time ago. You haven't even given birth to a son. How dare you get angry with me? Looking at the message my husband sent, I feel like I was really blind back then. At the beginning, when my husband pursued me, my husband swore that he would only have one child after marriage, regardless of whether he was a boy or a girl. When I was pregnant, my husband even bought a lot of recipes for pregnant women and cooked soups for me in different ways every day. After giving birth to Fei Fei, my husband seemed to be a different person. Not only was he no longer considerate, but he also always tentatively asked me if I wanted to have a second child. Before, I always tolerated my child because he was still young. But now, there is no need to endure it anymore. Fei Fei doesn't need a father who doesn't love her, and I don't need such a husband either. I turned off the phone and took my daughter into my arms. I know that within a few days, he will definitely find an excuse to pick up Fei Fei and me from my mother's house. After all, the fees for Hung Hung's tutoring class this quarter are about to be paid. In the past, I used my own savings to subsidize it. When I told my husband afterwards, he just said lightly, I want to take a look this time. Without my help, how can my husband, who has only $2,000 left after paying off the loan, pay for this expense? Unexpectedly, a week has passed and I haven't seen my husband's joke yet. But the police arrived. We received a police report that you are suspected of violating children. Come with us now. Chapter 2. Suddenly my head was buzzing. Comrade police officers, are you kidding me? Sexually assaulting children? How could I, a woman, do such a thing? The policeman flashed his police ID card to me. Madam, please cooperate with our work. Seeing that the other party had a tough attitude, I was helpless for a while. I had no choice but to go back with them first, and then ask the police who were accompanying me to send my daughter to my mother first. When the police handed me Hung Hung's injury report, I couldn't believe my eyes. The identification results clearly stated that there was bleeding in the lower body and multiple soft tissue contusions all over the body. The policeman reprimanded. You are an elder after all. How could you do such a thing to a child in private? The child is still lying in the hospital ward now. You're also a mother. How can you be so cruel? Even if you have some special quirks, you can't do this. Hearing this, I froze in disbelief. Comrade police, I have never done anything like this. There must be some misunderstanding here. Besides, I have been staying in the hotel with my daughter these past few days, and I have never seen Hang Hang at all. The policeman who took the note looked up when he heard this. It was Hang Hang who personally accused you of being the one who violated him. Your husband and mother-in-law even admitted personally that you often abused and beat your children. I advise you to tell the truth now and get leniency. Hearing this, my eyes went dark and I almost fainted. I asked the police to confront my husband and his family face to face. I didn't believe they could really confuse right and wrong. Unexpectedly, the police told me that my husband had filed a lawsuit against me and would not come to see me now. At the same time, there was a noise outside the police station. It turned out that local reporters heard about this incident and came to the police station to report the latest developments. Don't hinder the police from handling the case. No reporting for the time being. Follow-up results will be subject to the information released by the police. The police were outside trying to persuade reporters and onlookers to leave. Unexpectedly, my mother-in-law was among them. Seeing me showing up, my mother-in-law was so excited that she wanted to rush over. My eldest grandson is still lying in the hospital. If anything happens to him, I will never end it with you. What a sin you have done. Hang Hang is still so young. How could you bear to do it? Seeing that the police were blocking me, my mother-in-law spat at me. The reporters were also furious and set up their cameras, claiming that I must be punished by public opinion. Seeing this, I was so angry that I almost shed tears. The investigation results haven't come out yet, and the police haven't said I'm guilty yet. What qualifications do you have to accuse me here? I will definitely sue for the impact your current false reports have on me. When the mother-in-law saw this, her attitude was still very bad. Don't think it's okay if you don't admit it. Now the doctor is conducting further injury examination and DNA screening on Hang Hang. Until then, I'll see how you can still be so arrogant. Seeing my mother-in-law's attitude, I sighed. I didn't want to make the matter a big deal, but now I can't help it. I took out my phone, clicked on a recording inside, and played it in front of everyone. Comrade police, this was secretly recorded when I heard my husband instigating Hang Hang to frame me outside the door. This at least proves that my husband's family has a long history of framing me. Also, I have been staying in the hotel with my daughter for the past week. I only order takeout for meals and do not go out. You can find these by checking the hotel's check-in information and door surveillance. When the police heard this, they took my phone seriously and said it was important evidence and they needed to back it up. When my mother-in-law saw this, she rushed over angrily and wanted to snatch my phone. You're such a loser. You're talking nonsense. Even if you were wronged by what happened last time, we will never falsely accuse you of Hang Hang being sexually assaulted. You want to just pick yourself off. I'm telling you there's no way. The policeman put away his cell phone and seriously warned his mother-in-law. Even if you destroy this recording now, it will only prove that this recording is true and that there is something wrong in your mind. Everyone present is a witness. If you continue to disrupt law enforcement, I will have no choice but to detain you for assaulting the police. After hearing this, the mother-in-law also regained some of her senses, and she began to explain to the police somewhat sarcastically. I am just old and don't understand the FA. It's not intentional. Just when her mother-in-law was excusing herself, she received a call from her husband. Mom, come here quickly. The forensic doctor just said that male semen components were detected in Hong Hong's body. The forensic doctor has determined that a male committed the crime, and now he is asking the family to do a transcript investigation. Come back first, and I'll talk to you in detail. The husband's anxious voice came from the receiver, and everyone at the scene heard it clearly. Hearing this, I couldn't help but laugh. Now I can always prove my innocence, right? There are only a few people in the family. Normally, Hang Hang has no contact with outsiders. Do I need to say more about who is the most suspicious? Hearing this, my mother-in-law rushed towards me angrily and wanted to hit me, but was stopped by the police. You bitch, if you dare to talk nonsense again, I will fight you. You dare to spread rumors about your own man, you are really going against the grain. You think everyone is as vicious as you, but Hang Hang. Halfway through her words, my mother-in-law suddenly gave me a fierce look. Looking at my mother-in-law's resentful eyes, I felt that all the hard work I had put into this family over the years was really a waste of time. It's really not worth it for myself. No matter how much I pay to them, I can't get any sincerity from these people. In the eyes of my mother-in-law, only my husband and Hang Hang are family, and my daughter and I are always outsiders. Therefore, when they thought their interests had been violated, the first thing they thought of was to exploit my daughter and me. Even when they encounter something so outrageous now, the first thing they suspect is me. Now that the matter has come to this, I and this family have nothing more to say. Soon, the police also received a call from the forensic department. After understanding the situation, the police briefly asked me some questions about my daily life, asked me to sign the record, and then let me go. The reporters at the door had already followed my mother-in-law to the hospital. After leaving the police station, I took a deep breath. Decided to go to the hospital to find out what was going on. What are you doing here? You want to see Hong Hong's jokes, don't you? My mother-in-law laughed at me when she saw me showing up. Don't think that this matter has nothing to do with you. If you hadn't run back to your parents' house in anger, how could this happen to Hang Hang? When my husband heard this, he also stared at me with hatred on his face. My mother-in-law even threw herself on Hong Hong's bed and burst into tears, wailing that her grandson's life would be miserable if he met me. I stood at the door of the ward and listened to the family's accusations. He couldn't help but sarcastically said, "Since you all think that no matter what happens, it is my fault, and I will always be an outsider in this family, then let's get divorced as soon as possible. Have a good time, everyone." My mother-in-law glared at me angrily. "I told you before that you didn't have good intentions when you came here. Now the fox's tail is exposed. You came here specifically to add insult to injury, right? After listening to what my mother-in-law said, I thought it was extremely ironic. Since I feel that her precious grandson has been greatly wronged by me and this family, I finally took the initiative to file for divorce. She didn't want to, and she still thought I was adding insult to injury. When the reporters at the door saw this, they tacitly raised their cameras and pointed them at the mother-in-law. When my husband saw this, he was instantly irritated. He yelled at the reporters, "What are you taking pictures of? Did you ask for our permission? The children are like this now, and you're still taking photos here. Do you still have any conscience? You are eating human blood steamed buns. You are worthy of being a reporter. Reporters have also seen big scenes. How could they leave just because of his few words?" Finally, the doctor heard the commotion and came over and lectured my husband not to make loud noises in the hospital. The ward was finally quiet for a while. I came here today because I was determined to divorce my husband. On the other hand, I also wanted to ask Hang face to face what happened and why he had to say it was me. After being wronged, I can't continue to be kept in the dark, right? But looking at the attitude of my mother-in-law and husband now, I can't ask any questions. Seeing this, I simply went back first. By the time the police called me again, it was already half a month later. The police told me on the phone. It was said that the murderer who violated Hang had been found. He was a lonely old man in his 80s in the community. This old man was a habitual offender. He had previously lured other children in the community with snacks and money, but he was soon discovered by their parents and beaten up, because no real harm occurred. In addition, it would be disgraceful to tell this matter, so the other party's parents did not call the police. Not many people in the community knew about this, so when something happened to Hang, no one thought of him at first. But ma'am, there is another situation we need to talk to you about. When your husband reported the crime, he said he was an uncle and nephew to the victim, but our system shows that your husband is an only child. After hearing what the police said, my heart skipped a beat. Suddenly, my mind recalled what my mother-in-law had not finished last time. How could he hurt Hang? Hang is. I have a bold guess in my mind. After arriving at the police station, I asked the police to print a copy of my husband's household registration certificate. The policeman agreed kindly. I took the printed document and took a taxi to my mother's house with mixed feelings, planning to pick up my daughter first. When I saw my daughter, I carefully asked her, if Mom and Dad get divorced, will Fei be willing to live with her mom from now on? Mom promises that she will be as good to Fei as before. I felt a little uneasy. I know that divorce now is the best choice to stop the loss in time. But I am afraid that the child is still young and still attached to his father. Unexpectedly, Fei stepped forward and threw herself into my arms, raising her little face and talking to me softly. Fei wants to be with her mother. Dad likes Hang, but not Fei. Then we don't want him. After saying that, my daughter raised her little fist to show her determination to me. After hearing this, I felt so soft in my heart that I hugged my daughter distressfully. The child is just small, but she actually understands everything in her heart. After a brief explanation with my mother, I took a taxi and took my daughter to the law firm. I asked a lawyer to help me draft a complaint and submit it to the court for divorce. I was not idle during the preparation for the trial. I rented a house outside and arranged a kindergarten transfer for my daughter. As expected, my husband immediately called me angrily after receiving the court summons. After I hung up, the other party started to abuse me like crazy in the family group. Are you fucking crazy? I want you to go home and reflect. How dare you ask me for a divorce? You don't show your virtue by peeing. If you're a woman in her 30s with a child who will want you in the future, don't think I care about you. I gave you a chance because of my old friendship. Come back right now and serve Hang well, or you will see how I deal with you in the future. I ignored the other parties barking and exited the group chat. My husband doesn't like this when he sees me. After a few days, I started texting again. Honey, a few days ago, I was too emotional and said angry words. How can a couple live their lives without bickering? How can you really get angry with me and divorce me? You said that when something like this happened to Hang, I was too anxious and just said a few words to you. Can't you just be more generous and stop worrying about it? I sneered inwardly when I saw these messages. He really is as cheeky and capricious as ever. I directly blocked my husband's number. During the court session, my husband looked at me like a knife tempered with poison. In court, he kept arguing to the judge that it was my irresponsibility for the marriage that caused the breakdown of our relationship. More importantly, because I went back to my parents' house in anger and didn't take good care of Hang. Hang was hurt. I should bear the main responsibility for this matter. I couldn't help laughing on the spot after hearing this. My husband glanced at me and continued to act shamelessly. Divorce is okay, but I have to pay for Hang's follow-up medical care expenses and leave the house clean. I rolled my eyes at him like he was a fool and then submitted a paternity certificate between my husband and Hang to the judge in court. You really want to continue taking advantage of me? There are no doors. Speaking of this parent-child report, it took a lot of effort. It was the lawyer who took me to the police station to issue a certificate, and then to the hospital where Hang did the forensic appraisal to obtain the DNA comparison report. At first, my husband was the primary suspect of the police, so I did DNA identification and comparison screening. Unexpectedly, this final report helped me a lot. Judge, Our client has been deceived by her husband for a long time, and the other party brought children born out of wedlock to be raised within marriage. Not only does it cause emotional harm to my client, it has seriously violated our client's marital property. We apply for the other party to return all the expenses spent on the children born out of wedlock during the marriage and to provide mental compensation to our client. The lawyer stood up and made an application to the judge in court. The husband was dumbfounded when he saw this. He probably didn't expect that his relationship with Hang Hang would be discovered by everyone. My husband was a little panicked, but still pretended to be calm and defended himself. Your Honor, I admit that Hang Hang is indeed my biological son. At that time, my ex-girlfriend and I also had an unexpected pregnancy. Later, she broke up with me and left Hang Hang to me. I can't just ignore it, right? I have always told my wife that Hang Hang is my brother's child. I was just afraid that she would mind before marriage. But since my wife is married to me, then Hang Hang can be regarded as her stepson, so it is appropriate to spend some money on her. I was really shocked by his shamelessness once again. Judge, we disagree with the other party's statement. The other party used fraudulent means to conceal our client's marriage. This is a fraudulent marriage. Based on the other party's fraudulent marriage behavior, we have the right to demand compensation from them. The court session lasted for more than 2 hours. When the hammer came down and the judge announced the result of the trial in court, my heart was in my throat. The lawyer gave me a look, telling me not to be too nervous. The final result was simply not satisfactory. Because in the actual divorce judgment, there is no such thing as leaving the house without leaving the house. At most, the party at fault in the divorce will get a smaller share. The judge ruled that my husband and I's marriage had broken down, and we were allowed to divorce. Our marital property was divided between my husband and me in accordance with the June 4th movement, and I was also compensated 50,000 yuan as compensation for my losses and mental compensation. My husband expressed his dissatisfaction in court, saying that there were many ways to use money for subsequent flights, and applied for redistribution of property, but the judge rejected it. Soon, my husband was dissatisfied with the verdict and filed an appeal from the lower people's court to the intermediate people's court. But this time, the second instance judgment increased my husband's compensation to me to 150,000 yuan, and other judgments remained unchanged. My husband said angrily that he would continue to appeal. However, I was told that the second instance is the final instance and no further appeals are allowed for the same case. I was still online when I heard the news about my husband. It is said that because of the high level of attention paid to the aviation incident, a reporter applied to observe the court hearing. Nowadays, the internet is full of posts accusing my husband of being shameless. Especially those who had been led by their husbands to violently abuse me online. They all felt that they had been deceived and turned around and scolded their husbands. My ex-husband and mother-in-law now also know what it feels like to have rotten eggs and vegetable leaves thrown at them when they go out. Because of the negative impact of the incident, my husband has been fired from the company. Hang Hang is now hiding at home and unwilling to go to school. Although the lonely old man was arrested, it can be seen that this incident still has a huge impact on his heart. As for the compensation to me, because my ex-husband refused to pay, the court has already transferred the money to me. My ex-husband can't find a new job now, so he can only stay at home and take advantage of his mother-in-law's fortune. This family has now become internet celebrities, and they receive a lot of strange looks and pointing fingers whenever they go out. After my divorce, because I no longer had to take care of my family and had more free time, I quickly changed jobs to a higher-paying job. When I took my daughter to report to the new kindergarten, I bought myself some decent clothes for the first time. After the divorce, my daughter became more cheerful and laughed, and I knew it was all worth it. I planned to save money to buy a small apartment to live with my daughter and then gradually upgrade to a bigger house. I am extremely lucky that I made up my mind to stop the loss in time. At 30 years old, I still have plenty of time to start over with my daughter.